What's up, everybody? Midjourney Fast Hours podcast. We're back. We're back again with another great guest, a legend of a guest, Minh Do. We're going to have him introduce himself here in a second. Also joined by my lovely, charming, handsome self.
Ooh.
No, I'm just kidding. Rory, Flynn. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, guys? This is we're rolling into the holidays here. A little bit crazy. I don't know if you guys have had the same sort of like week before the holidays as I have, but everyone tries to jam every single call, every single project in before the holidays. Like they're going to get everything done before the New Year's anyway. And we all know that as soon as tomorrow hits, or Friday in this regard, or sorry, Saturday, it's like it's over. Like no one's doing anything.
I feel like you're either on one side or the other. You're either not doing shit the last 2 weeks, or you're doing everything. You know what I mean? Everything. It's just like there's no fucking middle ground there. So, and no one knows what day it is after Christmas anyway. So
no, you know, no one is. We all know Monday is like nothing. Only the savages, like probably us, will be just, you know, we got to tune in, got to start doing what we're doing. Like those are my favorite days, to be honest, which is when there's like no one working, and I'm like, no weird texts, no like, you know, random emails, no like, can you jump on a call? It's just like, let me just work, and then, you know, let's just sail into the week, you know, into the holiday. And then I'm gonna start taking all my 30-minute calls down to 15, all my hour calls down to 30. Can you just send a Loom video, please?
Yeah. Can we do async? You know, and then can your email be a Slack? Can your Slack just be a thought that never comes to me? Like, let's
just save it for when it's going to get done. We all know it's not getting done. Or just like send me a voice note, not a text message, whatever. We'll voice note back and forth. Like, I like when people do that. It's better. You do voice note. You're pretty good at that.
I don't do it a lot. I think you're like on my short list of people I'll actually do that with. Maybe like 3 people.
Yeah, it's the best. It's the best. But just as we said, we have a special guest today. Minh is we're going to let him introduce himself, but we thought it's very timely considering, you know, what's been going on in this space. Obviously, everything is exploding. Minh's done a few things on, you know, been a special tester for a few products. I'll let him give the the intro here. But, you know, Minh, with that being said, we'll let you rip through and let everyone know a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, I don't know where to begin, but I guess I'm a YouTuber. I run an agency that does AI work, and I run a little kind of creative collective community that does AI events and weird stuff where we try to experiment in person. So we say AIRL. But yeah, I don't know where to begin.
Love that.
Yeah, those are a few things. And then
it's trademarked, guys. It's trademarked. I already asked.
Can't steal it.
And I do my own filmmaking. You know, I love sci-fi, and so I'm always trying to do at least one film every 2 weeks.
Damn.
You know?
Now, were you doing that before AI, or was that sort of like a new muscle that you started to flex after your AI came out?
I guess I've been writing sci-fi on my own.
Interesting.
For the last like 10 years, but like I'm not published or anything. You know, not like I just do it on my own.
But it's a passion. It's a hobby.
Yeah, I used to be a journalist, and so I used to write a lot. And then after that, I just fell in love with sci-fi. Or I've always been in love with sci-fi, but I started like writing as a thing.
Super cool.
I get high and want to write, you know, and just I had all these ideas, you know.
Spill it out.
Whenever you're high on life, it's a great time to write.
That's right. Totally.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so that's kind of been my thing. So AI kind of was like, whoa, I can now just do this alone. I can, you know, be my own kind of auteur, you know, which is awesome. So.
Are you using AI outside of just like the video image generation side of things? Are you using AI to help with writing? Is that something that you leave to yourself, or is that something that you go and like, I'm going to like refine ideas, play around with concepts, things like that?
Definitely.
Okay.
I like to play with it as an idea, kind of brainstormer. It's so funny though, because I rarely get an idea from ChatGPT or Claude that is like usable. It's more like, I'm like, here, how can I fix this? And all the ideas suck. And then I'm like, oh, but that makes me think. It's very rare where it actually has a good idea, but it is good at restructuring. And I think like 3-act, 4-act structure, like that kind of thing, like that's not where I'm strong.
Yeah. You can get there. It's just it's a chore, right? Like I feel like you have to be super aggressive, for lack of a better word, with telling, you know, the models, I want unconventional, out of the box, unique, creative ideas that 99% of people haven't thought of before. You know what I mean? Like you have to say stuff like that. Otherwise you're just getting this generic packaging that, you're right. I mean, it's basically unusable.
One of the things I've liked to do with it is go like, get 5x more extreme or 5x crazier or 5x weirder. And that's when it starts to give me like, I'm like, open it up, you have no rules. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
wait, let me unleash my billion terabyte brain or whatever the hell it is. And yeah, something like that. I don't even know the terminology for where it's at right now, but I'm curious if you were writing this stuff before AI. Has like the AI process now, like with having all the tools, has that sort of like changed from a linear fashion to what you're doing? Because I feel like now you can like create an image and it's like, oh wait, now I have an idea for a story, versus it used to be like, let me write a story and then kind of build it up. Has that changed, or you still do it like, the same way you've always done it?
Yeah. I think that's like an interesting thought and thing that absolutely exists, right? Like the magic or surprise of some of the things that you get back, the creativity sometimes, and how it can really divert your attention. I know, at least for me, like keeping attention and focus on one singular thing is so difficult. But if I, like when I get down this track of I'm creating these images and I started with this idea, it's rare that I'll go through 100% of that way or that journey on that same idea. I've probably shifted or made a different micro decision to go a different direction somewhere along the path.
That's where I think that's a good point. I personally like these tools because I think the creativity that people think disappears when you use them actually expands, because you have to be more creative with what's given to you. It's like you're given like a hammer or like a like a nail that's dull sometimes, and like it won't like hammer into the wood. You gotta like kind of fix. You gotta like play with it to get around it. If like you get an image that doesn't work or a concept that you can't generate that you're gonna animate, I have to go in a different direction. If I wanted, especially if you're like 75% of the way through the story, you're like, oh damn, I need to figure out where this thing goes now. So I think that's I've always loved when you get those random outputs, whether it's the image generator or the video generator, and then it's like, well, that's cool. Wasn't what I asked for, but I'm going to take this and run with it.
It's like you got to have a little bit of room, liberty for what your expectations are. And I wonder how much of that has to do too with these agencies really, I guess, getting up to speed with, oh, we need to be paying attention to AI, which has happened a lot in the last year, probably more so in the last 6 months, at least just in my experience. And them thinking, oh, we're behind. So everybody else is using AI video. We have to do AI video. And them thinking it's farther ahead than maybe it actually is, right? Like, I think that's probably something that's happening a lot right now, I would imagine.
I say that to everyone, just like, go ahead and try. Like, if if this is your first time picking it up, have fun. You're going to give up.
You won't have fun. So
yeah, you won't have fun. It's like, oh wait, these people, maybe it is like a normal production process where you do have to generate thousands of images and then rerun stuff and reshoot stuff many times.
How many credits you got? You're part of the creator program? Because if you're not, you probably can't afford to be doing it. Like all that stuff.
When did you hit the rabbit hole? Like when was the rabbit hole moment?
I was doing a lot of rabbits, actually.
Nice.
Because I was working on a podcast, and the podcast branding was like, go down the rabbit hole, up the story tree. That was the kind of the slogan for it. And so like we were trying to do like a logo that was like pixelated, and so like I was just like making that on repeat. I think, and then Runway was kind of the next one where I was like, whoa, okay. Even though it was like terrible, it was so funny because when Runway came out, all of my like anti-AI Hollywood friends were like, this is never gonna make it. And it's so funny where we are today, because it was just, I didn't expect, I thought it was gonna take a few years. So it's like, even I was like, come on guys, you're foolish, you don't have no idea what's happening. And I did not expect it to, by the end of the year, we'd be able to do all the stuff that it's just crazy. Like even Genesis just blew my mind like a few days ago.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
That one's wild. I mean, it's interesting, the Runway side of things. I remember I was trying to do my first project with like video, and I'm just like, how is there not a thing that just takes an image and then puts some motion to it? And I remember Googling it, then it was like, oh, here's Runway, and I'm like, what does this do? And it's like you get like that, like it felt like it was maybe like 3 seconds of a generation back then. It was just like the person would just go, and you were like, oh, shit.
Back in my day.
Now, yeah, right? It was like, you get like this, like an eye blink, and you'd be like, whoa. no way.
and then the last 4 seconds just chaos. But still, you're like,
yeah.
Oh, shit.
And then it would just glitch out. It's crazy because then you get the other day, I'm watching Tarantino and Roger Avery on Joe Rogan, and it's just like the AI conversation comes up. Roger Avery's just like, yeah, use Runway every day. And it was just like, whoa, name drop, wow. Bang. Like, all right, you got really big, sort of like, I don't want to call him like a punk rock director, but it feels like he's kind of always walk to the beat of his own drum. And he's just like, yeah, I use it every day, me and my team. Wow. And it's just like, all right. That, it feels like everyone else has been hidden behind like, we don't use AI. Like, I can't put my name out there and say it. But, now you have someone saying it on the biggest platform in the world and like just throw that out there to everyone. So I feel like you're probably going to see, have you noticed that? Have you like had the friends in Hollywood, there been a shift into more so like,
okay. I mean, it's so funny because a year plus, I mean, the anti-AI conversation is still there, which I totally get. And it's like still copyright and fair use, all these things being unresolved. But it was definitely like there's a small, almost like punk rock group of tinkerers, right? About a year and a half to 2 years ago. And that group has like slowly grown, but it's still a tight-knit group, I would say. But at the same time, like we have been talking to like studios and agencies, big studios, small studios, and agencies more in the last 6 months, I feel. But the studios have kind of been like experimenting secretly for a while, and even in conversation with these companies who've been courting them for a while, but they can't come out and say like, hey, we're talking to Runway, we're talking, whatever. And then now it's just kind of like, I just wonder when. My prediction is next year, summer next year, there's gonna be just too many tipping points. It's like from Ben Affleck to, James Cameron, and then the Here movie with Tom Hanks. It's just like there's just too many big names that are in AI that it would be weird. It might be come at some point where it's like weird to say that I'm not doing something or not experimenting at some level.
Just to be behind. I mean, it's like just refusing to use Photoshop. Back in, when that was like a thing. It's like, well, everyone else is doing this stuff way more intensely with Photoshop. It's not like, it's a totally different skill set. It's like they're just doing it differently. And I'm interested because it's been so heated, and it's starting to feel like Coke, when they released that ad, sort of like sobered everyone up to the fact that, yes, it can be done. And it has been done, and they don't care, and the consumers don't care. So I've noticed a total shift in the wind post that commercial, especially with the conversations. Went from we can only use this internally to can we use this for production wise? It's like, yeah, I mean, you just got to be good. It's not, it's just, you just think it's like you said before, it's not push button solution, and then it's like here's my Coke commercial. What was that, 10,000 images or something they had to generate to get a 60-second spot. It's a little bit more in depth than I think everyone is ready for if they haven't started.
Well, how have you guys seen your community shift? Then, like the conversation shifting, has it gone from an extreme to another extreme, or is it kind of like a slow and steady?
I think like in general, I've been getting more and more requests. I'm doing a little bit more of the creative work for video, so like it's something that I'm not really spent a ton of time in, but the requests are pouring in more and more, especially in the last quarter, I would say, for sure. Everybody's wanting, it seems like, something that is great for stills, and then also they want an animated portion of it as well. Like I've got 3 clients right now, they're doing that exact thing. They want high quality still, and then they want to turn it into some sort of motion or video, as a part of the larger campaign. Before that, I mean, I didn't come across it too often, I guess.
It's interesting because like I feel like it's also industry specific, right? Like when I first started posting about this stuff on LinkedIn, it was so much because it was stills. It was like I was getting so much hate from graphic designers. I rarely even hear a graphic designer say like, this is crap
or photographers. Jesus
photographers,
Christ.
same thing. We some of our like most I don't want to like the people that listen to us the most and enjoy what we do the most now are photographers. Like they love because Drew and I talk about it a lot on here, like a different like photography concepts and things like that, because that's what we were doing with the stills. But the immediate audience that I was basically rolling this stuff out to a year and a half ago was media buyers and digital marketers, because we play in a different space. It's like less concept, like big idea work, and more volume. Like we just need volume from a ad space. So it was like this tool came along where we could have volume and we could have a lot of it. And it was, that was sort of, I never got any pushback from the media buyers, things like that. Because like, this is awesome. We can roll this stuff out, test, repeat, scrap stuff if it doesn't work, plug new stuff in. But then it was, the bigger agency heads that were like, this is crap. This will never be good. We'll never be able to use this. And it's like, well, here you are. And now, now you all want it because it's, you see the future and you see that it has to be part of the mix. So it's definitely changed. Like the one that hasn't changed though is our 3D animator friends and our they still love
hanging
to,
on.
They still love to just they hate a lot. If there's basically if there's ever like a bad comment on LinkedIn or a negative comment that's like super vitriolic, it's you just look right up at the title.
Vitriolic. Wow.
Yeah, you like that one, man?
Wow.
Pulled that one from SATs.
Is that a word?
I think so.
Vitriolic?
Did I just nail that?
Unbelievable. Hey, by the way, I gotta like this has been on my mind for the last 5 minutes.
Math tutor,
Pinhead,
prison barber,
model lover,
nearsighted gynecologist,
in your face, camel cake,
in your rear, cow derriere.
blind crying.
This is Rufio.
I've gotten that before.
We got
I've
Rufio
gotten
on the
that.
show.
I've gotten that.
Dude, of course you have because that's
Yeah.
amazing. Like, are
That's
you
so
kidding
funny.
me?
Speaking of that aesthetic now, might have to
It's the
recreate
hair,
that
too.
aesthetic in
It's funny
in
because this is
Midjourney.
tinted.
I think that's the thing is because the hair was tinted and then that was like the final thing and then you've got like the long hair on
that's
top
right,
too and I was
that's
like,
right.
oh,
I should be Rufio for Halloween next year.
I haven't watched that movie.
I was Tintin for Halloween, so that's
haven't
why,
watched that movie
because I have a
in
white
years.
dog, so I was like, that's why I dyed the hair. It's funny this conversation because
yeah, dude, I know. I mean, I dig that.
because I think a lot about how does the ideology shift in the next few years. Like that's what I'm most curious about because with respect to this, because it's like the anti-AI crowd is going to have to relent at some level because it's going to be everywhere. And so how do they justify it or how do they like account for it? Because they're not wrong in some of their kind of critiques of like stealing and training models and all that kind of
definitely
stuff
not.
and how does job loss and that kind of thing. But at the same time, we are going to have to shift. Just like when the internet came, everybody had to change, like be like, well, look, like, yes, okay, internet's here. How do you now approach it, right?
I think this will be a nice little signal for some of these grumpy old people that it's time. Like, it's too late, in their career that they don't even want to entertain it. I think there's definitely going to be a portion of the crowd that's in that bucket. I don't know though. That's a great question. Because when's the last time we've had a shift this big? Is it
Social media.
social media, and is it like I think about marketing, in terms of traditional marketing and then making its way over to a digital marketing and, like fresh landscape and people trying to figure out what is digital marketing, compared to traditional and how are those things different? And, same thing. I think it's sort of like it's a newer generation type of opportunity for sure. Those people that are just getting into the career world have a great opportunity in front of if they're paying attention.
It's always like the mid-career people that have it the worst when something like this happens, right? Because it's like, at the end, you're like, screw it, I'm almost done. The beginning, you're like, oh, I'm on this new tech. But the middle, it's like, you have to know both. You have to retrain, right? Like when social media came around, if you were 35 to 40, you still got 20 years on the back end of working. You got to figure out social media, but it's not your thing, right? Like, I don't want to learn Instagram when I'm 40, but like you have to because that's what it was when it came out. And now it's like, I feel like it's the same thing. So I'm also noticing I'm being a little bit ageist here, I guess. Like the people that are the most cynical about it tend to be in that like that middle career group where it's like, I don't want to have to relearn everything I've already learned and been working on for 15 years. And everyone that's like starting is like, I can just get on these tools. It's really cool. And everyone at the end is like, screw it, I'm done. So it's like I definitely feel like I feel for those people because I was feeling that right away when it came out. I was like, I'm in that position where I need to just get in it and figure it out because if not, like this, you can't just see this thing and be like, this has no relevancy.
You got to. I think it's part. I think it's a couple things. It's insecurity. It's ego. Like you have to. You have to eliminate ego in a lot of ways to really change perspective and be okay with like these people that have already publicly shamed AI. it's going to be even harder for them to pivot because they've publicly put it out there. You know what I mean? Like they've put themselves in that box. And, there's that whole psychological element to it where it's just like once you kind of go down a certain path, you double down, right? Unless you're willing to sacrifice that ego and that insecurity. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. I mean, it's a common thing, right? You have to proactively attack those things and be willing to shift perspective in the first place. Sorry, that's getting a little like
deep,
but like it's the truth, right? Like you have to be willing to evolve perspective. Just because I think a certain way today doesn't mean I have to think that way a week from now, month from now, a year from now.
Which
right?
is the same thing true with playing with these tools. It's like no one is a master. It's like as soon as you get the hang of one feature, they come out with another one or another tool
right.
out. And you're like, oh god, like I've been learning Runway and now I have to learn Sora and now I have to learn this, and each one has its own personality.
Well,
do
we want to I feel like this is a good segue. Do we want to go into, maybe let's start with Midjourney, and then let's make our way over to the AI. We'll circle back to the AI video stuff because I know you've got a lot of really interesting stories and experience there as well. So like Midjourney, been a while since they shipped a big update. Been a while, been a minute, been like a quarter,
which is long and
maybe
long
longer.
in our world.
I think what was it like
Yeah,
editor was the last real big thing, maybe, and then before that it was like
ago?
personalization, which was maybe 6 months ago. I don't know, but either way, it's been a minute. You've got Patchwork that's come out. I don't know if you've seen that with Office Hours or played around with it yet. And then you've got Moodboards, which just dropped as well. Like, first reaction, gut reaction. Have you played with these things? What do you think of the potential? Is it something you're going to use?
I love Midjourney is still my favorite tool, just because of the instant gratification of generating an image. You still have to wait for a video. So, Patchwork I played with for a few days. Maybe I've logged like 10 hours into Patchwork. I definitely struggle with it a lot. I have to say it's not easy for me to use. I'm trying to get while playing with it, I was trying to figure out why did they call this world building, and like,
that little surprise they had where, hey, we're gonna launch collaborative world building today.
And I was like, what does that mean?
Yo, I'm there. I'm on the call.
Yeah, totally.
we got amped about it, and then it was like this guy went on a nice like 30-minute sort of rabbit hole into what?
Right. But like,
it's kind of
as
how
a
we all
Figma
felt.
user, I mean, I love Figma, so I was like, are they trying to get acquired by Figma, or is it like a new way to think about it? Which I did once I started getting into Patchwork a little bit more. I started to get it, even though I think there's a lot of bugs, like I can't change the size of things, blah blah blah. But I did like that. Hey, I now have like visually, I have my house is here, the landscape is here, and it's all visually in one place. And I'm like removing things that I don't like, and then it's like referring to that stylistically. So I'm like preserving style. So like I like the idea behind it. I think it needs like a few more iterations before it gets to where it's actually useful to me. And then Moodboards is like awesome.
It's like a storyboarding tool.
Yeah, Moodboards is awesome. Yeah,
agreed.
It's better than style reference in a lot of ways, or like an evolution of style reference. I was curious when I started playing with Moodboard, which I haven't logged as much time, honestly. But like, would that come into Patchwork somehow? Would that come into like, working in a group? Are they, like using it in a group chat like they have with the lobby? Like, would I be able to use Moodboard in that setting in a kind of really fun collaborative way? Yeah, and I feel like that's also brand friendly. Like playing around with styles of the brand, all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
definitely.
Moodboard is cool. It's probably my favorite update of the year so far, and it's tight, which I
really
like. Yeah, it's tight. It works. It works like how you'd expect it to work.
Do you think so? I like. Tell me about that. I would love to know. I feel like I'm okay. Like it's okay. It's okay so far. Tell me what I'm missing.
Well, I think you can go about it a few different ways here. This is just my own thought process around it. One, you can go super broad, and you can bring a bunch of different styles into it and hope that it kind of blends it all together, sort of like your personalization style, your global profile, right? Like that's like that one to me is good. But there's also like if you want to get super tight on a concept, like if you have maybe 6 or 7 SREF images that are like really tight in terms of like conceptual nature. Like they look the same textures, same color scheme, things like that. You can basically build an SREF code so that it's then you just don't have to type. You don't have to like go through the hoops and jumps of like, SW16 or, like Chaos 5 and like do all the parameters and describe everything. It'd just be like, cat profile code, enter, and it just comes out exactly in that style. So I found it that way. But then I've also found like using it like a mood board, as weird as that sounds, has been like really good. Like here's like some concept images, textures, colors, like swatches, things like that. And it tends to like blend it all together very well. That's just my opinion on it because I was doing something super complex with it yesterday just to see if it could do it. And I was like, whoa. All right.
Yeah, like I wish there was like a maybe like a strength component to it.
Ooh, interesting. Like a
in terms of like how much is applied, and I think they do need to find a better, efficient way to apply style weighting, for the references. Because I mean, when you think about it, dude, I just burned so many fast hours doing permutations or time just running different style weights. With any style reference, style code, style reference, doesn't matter. It's just like you almost want to find that sweet spot that exists. I feel like, just in playing with Moodboards so far, I wish I could control that aspect of it.
It's interesting because I'm treating it as like the different, and Faye's joined in. If you don't know that my 7-month-old daughter, her name is Faye. Congrats. She joins in every podcast. She makes her voice heard. But it's been pretty cool like to watch this tool that I've wanted for so long, which is just like I want to build this one style, especially if I'm creating like a story, right? And I don't want to go through all of like the hoops and bounds of like long text prompting because that's more so of what I'm doing most of the time. I just create the mood board and then like bang, just generate like dit. So that to me has been super helpful, and that's why I've been loving it so much and like really playing.
How much are you guys in the explore function? Do you guys spend much time in explore, or when you can see what other people are doing? Yeah. I've been spending more and more time there lately than I used to.
Oh, I'm always there because for me, like I'm curious about the breadth of the tool in general.
Totally.
Like what's possible with the tool. Because I mean, I'll still see styles. I'm like, holy shit, like I've never seen that before. You know what I mean? So I use that as a form of inspiration. I would say like I also use that when I'm trying to work backwards from something. If I've got an idea and I want to take a piece of something, right? Like, so let's just use that example. I see something I've never seen before. I like one aspect of it, maybe two aspects of it, lighting, color, maybe a material, maybe a style, whatever it is. Now I can sort of use that as a tool that's going to help me sort of like get to whatever I'm trying to do, right? Whether that's for personal or professional work. I use the search functionality a lot too. Like, to be honest, so like if I've got a client project and they're looking for, let's just call it, there's like people in the scene and it's street style photography. Like I've got my own stuff, but depending on what the needs are, the scope or the brief, like what the specifics are, maybe there are parts of it that I don't have. So then I'll use search functionality. I'll look to see like, okay, is there something here that feels like I can take this from 0 to 1 using that, and then apply that. And then also I think what's super unique about the search function, right, is that piece, the search within the search, the smart search.
The search within the search.
Right, where you click in. No. Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay, so let me just
that sounds really deep.
A little hidden trick.
Hitting us with some
profound... Oh yeah, it's dope. It's dope. So let's go. All right, so let's go here. Let's jump in here. Okay, so like, for example, let's just say this, right? So I've got, there's this image, but like, let's back up. Let's just like put in horse. Okay, so now what I'm looking for is I'm looking for like a style or a color or something that I'm gravitating towards. So like for this example, let's just go with like this. Okay, so I can click into this. I'm like, okay, cool. So maybe I'll look through this. Is there something in here like token, something like that stands out that I can use? And then I'll click into this. So what I'm looking for is like that bridge, because then this is going to give me images connected to that one that are more relevant to that one. So now I can really utilize this. Yeah, now I can really utilize this as like an entire, inspiration, in a sense. Like there's also one deeper level to this. I don't do this that much anymore, but like you could, like I might be interested, like, does this person create a lot of this
Right.
stuff?
That
Like,
idea.
or do they have a certain style that's, and then you can go in here and obviously look and see if there's anything else that stands out. So, I mean, yeah, like to answer your question, long-winded way, absolutely. Like Explore is still very, very relevant for
Well,
me.
I asked because like I'd love to like combine styles. I mean, you just like exponentialized how I would even think about it now, but like, and especially in context of Moodboard, how can I like use Moodboard to like combine styles for like
there you go.
Illustrator
Yeah.
thing, like whatever I want to achieve. Like I'm always trying to like make a style that maybe is either people haven't seen before or like I haven't seen before, or like just weird,
Yeah. You're talking to the weird master here in
Yes.
Rory Flynn. So
I do like weird a lot. I got a message from Midjourney yesterday when I was trying to do with my style code. I had it on like Chaos 80 because I was trying to, or my my mood board code. I had it on Chaos 80 because I was trying to find something crazy, and then I put I put weird 500, and it was like this image might be too graphic. It didn't even generate it. It was just like the
What?
concept. Yeah, I was like,
No.
what?
never seen that before.
Have you guys noticed this? Has Midjourney gotten a little darker lately?
Has it?
Is it just me or is anyone else? I've been getting some weird stuff.
That's
that
you.
might be you're
That's all
personalized.
you.
Is there personalized on?
Anything. I don't do any horror film. I don't do like any sci-fi. I like only prompt like real stuff, and then it's like when I put in something like comedy movie that was never made, and it was like some really whack.
That's
like,
awesome.
I was like, whoa. This is a little bit funky, Midjourney. Don't know where you're going with this.
They're scraping the barrel of training data at this point.
Yeah. I went on, where I used this prompt the other day where it all went wrong just to see what would come up, and it was gross. I was like,
Oh.
it's like what is happening
down the
here?
rabbit hole, man.
But it's every once in a while I try to find because like with Minimax, I get obsessed with Minimax and the funky things that it can animate and like do like weird stuff with and make it kind of hilarious. And you'll throw some prompt in there like that, and you'll get something random that Minimax will just take and run with. But that's where, that's where I've gotten most of this like weird stuff lately. I just didn't know if it was me.
What do you think about this? I think like mood boards, there's a lot there. We can dig into that. I think we're going to spend a whole nother episode on that because it deserves a deep dive.
Yeah.
For Min here though, like I want to get into the video component and like tell us a little bit about the tools that you're using right now. I think Rory said that you were part of like the alpha program with Sora. Is that correct? Now, tell us about how that happens, right? Like, how did you get invited to that? There was sort of that mystique, right, when everybody was talking about Sora, how like some people had access, but we don't know who. Like shine some light on that whole situation. Were you already posting video stuff? Did they come find you? Was there a program?
There's
like,
a program.
break it down for
I
us.
think they were just kind of cold emailing and finding people out there who were experimenting and tinkering, just like kind of any other program. I feel because I'm in a few programs, and I feel like a lot of them they're just kind of like finding friendly people out there who are willing to play around and tinker around. A lot of the artists, because I've been playing around for like a while, and so maybe I know a bunch of people in the LA SF AI art scenes, and so like I was kind of a known entity in person. There are a lot of the other artists that I met were like known for being tinkerers in AI, or just known to be tinkerers in general with digital art. And so that was kind of my impression of the 300, 400 people that are in the program. Everybody's very open, and like definitely some people who are not technical at all, and then some people who are like very technical. So it was kind of an interesting batch. And then we were doing like weekly calls. We're in like a kind of group together, kind of interacting. So of all the programs I've been in, I really like that one just because of how intimate it was. Kind of like a lot of help for any artists from across each other, and then from the program itself. So yeah,
Probably felt like a pretty massive thing, that was coming, right? I mean, because of the hype. I mean, it's OpenAI, first of all, right? It's like that first company that, really, I guess, democratized AI for the general public.
Kleenex of AI
and
with
then,
ChatGPT, right?
the Kleenex, the Google, right?
What's so funny, because when I first got into the program, which was about maybe 3 or 4 months ago, so I'm later than, folks like Paul Trillo and others, right? But I was kind of surprised that it was more complex than I expected it to be. I expected the company that made AI, Kleenex, like with ChatGPT, which is relatively easy to use compared to, I don't know, whatever, but it just made it palatable for 100 million people to use it, right? Which is crazy. So I expected that same company to be like, hey, we're going to make video creation easier. And then when I got into the product, I was like, whoa, there's a lot of, it took me a while, frankly, to figure it out. Like, and I was in a few of the office hours and like interacting with a bunch of other creators and sitting there. And then, I was just hearing people talk about Storyboard forever. And then I was like, oh, okay, this is what I can do with Storyboard. I can like recut it. I can like talk to, I can like describe what the characters do and objects do. And obviously very flawed still, but like that workflow took me a minute. And then once it hit me, I was like, oh, I can kind of be creative in a different way with this than all the other ones that I'm used to, right? Where I'm just like text prompting, or sometimes I'm not doing anything. I'm just like dropping my Midjourney image in there,
Yeah.
So,
see what happens.
Yeah, so that's kind of unique, and which is funny to me that when I started seeing the Sora comparisons the day of, it was a lot of people who were just like shot by shot comparison, and I was like, all right, like you don't know what are you talking about? That's a very different thing. You're comparing different things, But at the same time, to be fair,
Great point.
yes, it's fair that one-shotting maybe Hailua is very strong or Kling is very strong. That is completely fair. But at the same time, it's like there's just some shots you wouldn't get from those that you can get in Sora. You can get like a wave, you can get the camera to move in really unique ways, for example.
Definitely. I remember like the first day I was doing it, and I was like, you were very, very good about being close-lipped on it in our little group chat, and then it was like, okay, now that the cat's out the bag and we're all trying to figure this out, you're like, oh, if you use recut and storyboard, it's gonna be way easier. We're like, wait, what? It was like, yeah, it's like, all right, cool. Now that I'm going down the rabbit hole for this whole day of like figuring out, my first like 30 gens were just terrible. I didn't even get anything close, and then I started like picking it up a little bit, and I'm like side DMing, like, wait, is this like, it's like blend and remix? Does this stuff like really work well? And like, is it cool? Whatever. But it's different. I think that's probably why everyone is so upset with it. Like, it's just because it's not Runway where you put an image in, type like move right, and then press enter, right? Like it's a little bit more complex, which to each their own. I think I like the chase of trying to figure it out, because you see what people can do. I've seen what you've done. I've seen what some other people have done. It's just like, you gotta go after it a little bit. It's not handed to you on a silver platter.
You have to get wild and weird with it, and then it shows you what you can do, and then you're like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Which is so funny, because I just felt like for a second there, it was like, yes, these generations are very clear, but there's 2 seconds in your generation that are I've never seen before, and what you could do is like take that out and do something with that. And it took me a while. Like, honestly, the first time I'll be very honest, the first 2 weeks of Sora, I was like clicking, I was doing that, and then I just didn't use it because I had other projects, and I was like, I just don't have time. And then when I was taught, I was like, oh, okay, this is a whole other lane that now people can play with, now people can do, and now I'm expanding I don't know, it's all very abstract, but it's like, this is what I feel like I can do, and this is what I can also do over here with Sora, and so these are 2 different buckets of things that we can do now, but it's like very abstract.
Recut's definitely a differentiator.
Yeah.
Having recut in there because Drew and I had like kind of like talked about this a while back, like, oh, if they're going to do 60-second generations, what happens if like 30 seconds suck?
Yeah.
Like, what, are you just going to hit send again? So like the recut feature like totally makes sense for that, where you can, if anyone's not familiar with Sora recut, if you have a 10-second video, let's say second 3 to 4 is terrible, you can split the clip in half, basically, expand or contract, and then generate that piece over again. So you don't have to do the whole video over. You can just do that little piece, which is a nice, touch to have that in there, and like also the remix to like smooth things over. But I want to ask you about the storyboarding, because I think a lot of people are very confused with that. I was confused when I started on like how to like actually get that to get something that's usable, because it feels like I've seen a lot of. I personally had to go on the explore page to figure it out. But if you have any like insight into storyboarding, like how that works, like what's a good way to get some clean shots out of it that aren't jacked, I think everyone that's listening would probably appreciate that.
I guess starting with recut being the core way to think about storyboard. And then thinking, because I think what Runway came out with middle frame, right? Yesterday or the day before. So like now we have one other player that can do 3, but of course Sora can do like 5, 6, 7, 10 images in one generation that you could upload, or even video into a storyboard. But the way that I tend to use it is I have a character, let's say I've been working on this story about this Filipino entrepreneur who develops like a cube that can like mist, so it can water her plants for her. And then she becomes like a mogul. And so like and she like threatens the power structure of Philippines. But like I was struggling with it for a while because I wanted her to like be holding this floating cube and then for her to go out and water the plants with it. And so like one, storyboard allows me with character consistency. I have the character that I generated and her face is the way that her face is. And with what I do is I cut out like 1 second, 2 seconds, and then I type into Storyboard. I click on, that window, and I click on, the 4th second, and I tell it, watering plants. Now the problem then becomes like, how much are you telling it? Because I feel like with what I've learned using Kailua and Minimax, Runway, Luma, all of them, is that sometimes saying less is better, because you want it to weight the image. But I find that sometimes with using Storyboard, giving more is better. So like rather than just having the 4th second, it's watering the plants, I'm also telling it at the second second, I'm telling it, the cube floats upwards. And then the 3rd second, I'm saying the cube floats down. Like I'm being really granular. And then that I tend to get a lot better results. It's not perfect, but I get a lot more results from that.
Just a quick anecdote. It would be nice if we had the same coherence cross channels. Like it seems like that's always like a nut you got to crack. Jumping tool to tool. How's this different from this tool?
So annoying. You mean like
yeah. I mean, I find Minimax to be like less is more there than like Runway. You might need a little bit more, and then Sora you might need a little bit more. Cling, I think probably you can go either way on it. I feel like it's the Swiss Army knife of all the tools, but the Sora thing is interesting because that's now that the other thing that was when you were doing the storyboard too, right? That I didn't recognize. I would always put like if anyone has done this on the storyboard where you have like your image and then you're trying to add something after the image, like it's those little like place cards, right? I've got so much better success placing that card like a second after the end of the image. I don't know if that's like a functionality thing because it gives that like breathing room between like to connect things instead of just a hard cut.
Right?
Yeah. So that's interesting. So are you doing like when you're doing storyboards, are you doing like 6 or 7 cards in a storyboard? Sometimes I'm guessing it probably varies, but you can go that deep.
Definitely.
That's what you're saying works the best.
I don't know if I was going to ask, have you experimented with like having multiple images? Like I've created like Midjourney. I do like I've created 5 images of action with the same character in Midjourney, and then I'm uploading 5 images for 5 keyframes, and then I'm describing the text between each image. Right, I'm a text card. So it's like image 1, the rabbit is in New York City. Image 2, the rabbit is in Brooklyn, and then the rabbit's in Jersey. Those are all images, and then I'm text prompting in between each image of how it got to each place. And
interesting.
I've done a lot of.
I haven't used that many.
That's.
I tried to use like 3 images as keyframes, and like I always, I think that was probably trying to do it differently. Like again, I wasn't utilizing like the cards in between. I was trying to like describe the scene as the image and then like have it transition. But that's why I think it's interesting. Yeah.
Curious from both of you guys, how much of this with these tools, AI image gen and AI video gen, is it that these companies intentionally leave some of this stuff open to play and experimentation and Easter eggs almost versus actually not knowing exactly what the fuck is going to happen? Where do you think that's at? Like, I'm just curious. Like, I think about that a lot, right? Because Midjourney is the perfect example of that. Here's this feature. Here's what it does very literally. Right. Then, you give it 24, 48 hours, even a week. You've got 20 different ways that people have sort of uncovered that this could be useful, right? Did they know that it was going to be useful in that way? Or is this all just UGC? They're taking advantage of that? Do they expect there to be a bunch of ways that they're not thinking about to use it to happen with each, release that they have? Like, I'm just thinking about things like that. How much of it is unpredictable versus intentional?
I wondered when Genesis came out. I was like trying to visualize what all the video research teams were thinking. It was probably like the iPhone moment in BlackBerry. Like you're like, they're all like, I told you that.
Yeah, there you go.
I told you we should have done 3D stuff. You idiot. You idiot.
Yeah, dude, that's a great point. That's a great point. Absolutely, bro.
That's perfect.
Because they're kind of stuck with their training data in a way, right? They're like, the to the extent to which how much training data plus GPUs plus whatever they have, they, but at the same time, maybe, I mean, Midjourney, I feel like is leaning into the creativity and like the brainstorminess of what AI could do. But at the same time, I'm sure, like, every time I see another runway thing, like camera movement to key middle frame to whatever, I feel like they're trying to head towards precision,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Genesis or some version of the thought or research behind Genesis shows up in Runway in 3 months or something like that.
I feel like it's a Runway has made it the most user friendly to sort of like stay along the track with. If you were able to like start a couple months ago, you can if you learn how to do this, you can just do this, and then you can do this, and then you can do this, because it's every other week there's something, which is great. And Midjourney, like to your point, Drew, it just feels like they listen to what the community says they want, they develop it, and then they just like release it into the wild, and it's like, do whatever you want.
I know.
And it's like, I don't think they thought of people using character ref as an object ref, which is what I was doing.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
and remember,
so
like a couple weeks ago, we were talking about, I think we were doing the editor, right? And we were talking about, hey, look, like, editor is great for swapping or changing things out or removing things. When you add things, it's hard. And then we were talking about, well, let's add the image ref. Like, let's add an image ref into the editor of the prompt. And sure enough, like, that works. Why does that work versus just typing it in, right? Like, how many people know about that? Did Midjourney know that was going to work like that? Remember we were talking about too with the editor, and could you apply a style or, like a style reference after you painted stuff out, right? Like, do they know that? Do they know that? Or is that just like, holy shit, somebody figured that out. That's cool.
It was we're always trying, because we know what we need sometimes, right? Like, we know what we need to get.
And maybe they don't, right? And they're not utilizing it, maybe the number of various formats that other people are, right? It's just sheer volume. Yeah.
Also, someone, you guys are doing more client work probably at a certain point. Like, they need something specific, so you have to keep going till you get it. And a lot of times that means you got to use a lot of different tactics to get there. Like, if you're just doing it for fun, you could just give up.
I got a question. I got a question for Min. Like, Min, we talk about this from time to time. I think this is like a really good underpinning of like these tools right now, and like how to like find the edges, and then also like be creative with the application. Do you feel like you run into like you've got a very specific client brief or something that is in your mind that is very clear that you need to do? Sometimes it doesn't quite work out the way you want. You have to rethink how you're going to get there. Have you noticed that those type of like obstacles along the way have pushed you to be even more creative and better with the tool, because maybe you didn't know the initial way to get there, but now you do, or what's possible. Maybe you just can't do it.
Or like that has actually caused me to remix or go cross tool more. Yeah.
There you go.
Like
Yeah.
Like Kriya editor, Photoshop in painting to get like a specific, bottle or like a character to look the way it has to look. Like, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like, I have to push that as far as I can get it before I go back to the client and be like, look, like, this is what I could do, Or like, hey,
like, you don't run from the problem, you attack it, and then.
But at the same time, like, I kind of look at it two ways. I'm like, I want to get as precise as I can, and then I want to be as weird as I can, or or like fantastical as I can, so that when I come back to them, I'm like, look, this is what I could do in terms of how precise we can get, but this is also what you probably, because you don't play, this is what we can do. Like, we can have a dragon eating the bottle, or or whatever, right?
And that's,
love it.
I think that's, to me, where if there is one differentiator that the other tools can't sort of compete with Sora yet is because they just don't have the functionality. Is the blend and sort of remix functionality there? Where blend to me is like the most unique feature. It's like just a totally it's like novel. There's no other. Is there any other tool that can do that?
Yeah. What are you getting with it?
It's like playing with concepts that I normally couldn't do, right? Like I was like, let me play with, I have a guy on a dirt bike, right? He's riding through the jungle, and I have like a really crazy shot of him coming towards me around a curve. So it's like, coming into the frame, like around a curve. And then I have a shot of me following him from the back. But I'm like, what happens if I blend those two?
Right.
So by blending them, it like made this super sharp, like 90-degree turn with like almost like a camera rotation on like a gimbal. And I was like, that's sick.
Right.
But at the same time, when it did that, it had, when it morphed, when they like kind of combined, then it had a rider on the motorcycle facing forwards and then a guy on the motorcycle facing backwards. And I'm like, well, I mean, cool. But then you hit remix and you're just like, all right, just one guy on the bike. And then it mimics the motion and bang. And it's like, I can't do that on other platforms. Or, like having the blend curve,
Yes.
which I love on Sora. That's the coolest thing because you can influence either how much is like from one video or the other, or where it transitions, or if you want to like go back and forth a little bit, which I find to be just an awesome creative like piece. Because then you think about it in terms of like Midjourney, it's almost like image ref with keyframes, right? So you can like influence via keyframe and like put them together. And that's when it's like, if you gave me unlimited credits and this stuff generated at the speed that Midjourney does, I don't think I'd stop. I think might have to send me to a
That's true.
home.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's
Something
blend
might
and
be-
remix
Yeah.
is how you burn through credits because you're just like, what's gonna happen?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's also remix can do some really subtle things, which is nice, like
Yeah.
fixing like out of
Like
place
the color of
artifacts and shit,
things.
which I've
Yeah, or a specific
Yeah.
object. Yeah.
it's easy.
yeah.
That to me is like the best one because like you'll get something where okay, you're coming around a turn and then there's just like this weird building that like kind of cuts off and it's like all right, remove the building at the turn,
Right.
bang, and then it's gone. And you're like, cool, thank you. Like I don't have to go play around with trying to regenerate this random shot. But is that where you got is that where you spent a lot of time did they have that feature in the alpha program?
Everything, yeah,
So that's
we
okay.
were playing it for a while. Yeah, when I got on 3 to 4 months ago, all of those features were there. Yeah, just a little bit better.
Oh, okay.
We actually had some drop in quality of generations at some points because they were fixing stuff.
Really?
And sometimes there were some kind of interesting things in the alpha program because it was like also sometimes some people were doing weird stuff with it and they had to like shut it down. So it's like they had to shut it in, or like and it's so funny that what you could do with content restrictions was sometimes lower in the alpha program and then became way harder because someone was doing something, and so it was funny that we got all that, everybody was playing with it. It was like, I don't like content restrictions. Well, it's like, because they're trying to be good, whatever that means to them, and it makes sense because from what I heard of some people doing, I was just like, yo, okay, that's not cool,
What did you hear?
I don't know
No,
if
I'm
you're
just
talking
kidding.
about that, but
I don't know if we can go. I don't know if we can go there, but
There's definitely, I'm sure there's some people that pushed it. I would have been that person probably in the background.
No, you wouldn't have.
I push things, but it's interesting because it was kept under such lock and key. I mean, like, did you have a hard time like not telling people that you were using it? Like, even I know it was, you probably don't have to try that hard, but to me, I'd find it hard.
It was nice that because when I came in, I was like, oh, a few of my friends are here, and so then I was just like, I talked to them. They didn't tell me either, so everybody was very tight-lipped. Aside from the leak.
Interesting.
Aside from those leaks. What do you think about those, by the way?
I addressed this in my YouTube. I was pretty annoyed, and so I was also annoyed because it was like, and we actually didn't know when it was going to release. So,
is this the leaks that we're talking about that happened like a couple weeks?
Yeah.
But was it like a couple weeks
right.
before?
So we didn't know when
On like Reddit
we didn't
and
know
everything.
when Sora was going to come
Yeah.
out until like very and so like when I was like, shit, I can't respond to that. I can't respond to it. So like, number one, I didn't feel like that was reflective of, there's like 304 people in the program. There was like a dozen people who sent a letter. And so like my first thought was, did those people actually interact with the program? Because this program in particular, like I'm in a lot of programs, I felt, and a lot of them are really good, don't get me wrong, but I felt that the Sora program they were very hands-on with the artists, and they were like,
oh yeah,
and so
okay,
they were, like,
interesting. Like, is there anything that you can share about that specifically?
Like
what
the
do you-
people were
like, what you
always
mean
available.
by hands-on.
You know, you could like message them, and they would respond to you personally. There was like office hours, so artists were guiding each other on how to use the tool. They were sharing how they're using the tool. Like there
Love
were like
that.
little workshops where some artists would have like, hey, this is what we've been doing for 3 months or whatever using this tool, and they would show the art that they came up with and the mistakes that they made. So that was like really intimate and really cool. And so like when the letter came in, that was what was most frustrating to me, was that it misrepresented what it at least felt like to me. So I'm biased, but like it just felt like some other programs, it's just like, hey, you're in the program here, this is, you get credits and you get alpha access to some features, versus where I did feel like, sort of, maybe because of the pressure around them as OpenAI and, you know, a lot of the rumors, maybe they were trying to be more, you know, human about it. But yeah, I mean, I felt like that was disingenuous. And then I did feel like they gave that access for a hot second, right, to generate. Number one, that wasn't the real access.
Literally
Yeah,
a hot
yeah.
second. Yeah.
That was only to click
Oh,
on
that was-
generations. So I think it was funneled through somebody's account. It wasn't actually API access, right, and all that. And
Got
also,
it.
like, it was a misrepresentation, as we know now, of what was possible with Sora, right? Like, there was no remix, blend, recut, storyboard. None of that was available in that version. So it was like, I don't know. So those, I definitely had a lot of feelings about it, but and also I'm biased because I'm pro AI art, right? And so like I want people
Yeah.
to approach it with my own sense of curiosity and you know, like playing, but you know, you can't expect that from everybody.
This is a question that's coming from my own personal curiosity, is like when you had those first couple like wow moments with the tool, how hard was it not to post that stuff?
Ooh.
Like when you see how viral everything else went, and you're just like, this would just be so easy, you know? if you
They
posted
had
it
it
up there.
They allowed
I-
you to post if you just asked. And
Oh, really? I thought you couldn't do it at all. I thought that
no,
was
yeah,
totally
if
locked
you just
down.
asked, they would have approved you, and they basically approved everybody pretty much. But I think, but that so. But to answer your question, that made me want to produce something better. You know what I mean? And so
Okay.
like I wanted to have a complete
Yeah.
little short film that showcased it versus, you know, just posting whatever. So I don't know, that kind
Mm-hmm.
of had the opposite effect on me. Yeah. So I don't know. Other people probably experienced.
Did you create like a Sora only
I did.
film, like where you just use Sora
Yeah,
top to bottom?
I did, and I'm still working
Interesting.
on a few. But yeah, I did only Sora film, which turned out great. I mean, definitely things that I didn't think I could do with other tools. So
The thing that I like about it, which I wasn't expecting, because I'm going to be honest, like I just don't see ChatGPT and OpenAI as like I see Midjourney as being creative. Like I never like felt that with ChatGPT,
Yeah.
because it's, I don't know, maybe the UX is like utilitarian, but this one felt to me like there's a lot of rabbit holes to chase, a lot of like different features to go down and sort of kind of get crazy with and waste credits on, which is what I like to do the most. And I was surprised, like Blend really surprised me, where I was like, this is
creative. Yeah.
this has a very creative mindset that is behind it. So is Storyboard, the way that it was put together. So is recut. It's like it's conceptually, it's very well thought out. It's just, I think for some people, it's a lot of things in the first week. You know, it's like a lot of stuff to relearn. But when you're going through this entire like new process with something like this, is it something where you're looking at the tool and you're basically being like, this is going to be it, let me reframe this. That was a really bad way to start that question. Like I was trying to figure out the best way to say it.
I'm not going to edit that out. Let's leave that in, baby.
My mind is going like 7,000 different
No,
directions.
I'm just giving you shit.
And like no, for real, because I'm trying to get to the right end point here, which I can't get to for some reason. It's like I have this thing happens to me. I don't know if it happens to anyone else. When these new tools come out, I obsess over them for like probably like 2 weeks, and then like something else drops, and I go back to doing the other tools. But like this one was the first one that I felt like I could really lose myself here, because the quality of the generation is so insane. Like, did you sort of have like that feeling with it? Because I love the other tools. I love Runway, Minimax, Kling, whatever. But I just saw Sora, and I'm like, that there's just things you cannot do on the other ones. And I maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm feeling a little bit special about it, which I feel like a lot of people kind of soured on it. But
no, I feel you. I think, but there's definitely for me it's been a balance because like some things Sora still can't do, or I just don't have
100%.
time to deal with that. Like it's easier still maybe because I'm just stuck in the
efficiency.
Like Midjourney into
just
X, and so like that's still sometimes way faster than Sora. But at the same time, like I don't know, like the Kingmaker video where it's got this dude running through a snowstorm and it looks like like real footage like that. I don't think I can achieve anywhere else. So like I think there is that balance that is like almost like I'm deciding at that moment whether or not I'm going to go back to the usual workflows or Sora, and I'm going to push Sora as far as I can and then give up because I just can't get this stupid cube to float up in the air, and I've spent 5 hours now for this cube to float and it keeps making it something else. And but at the same time, like I guess that's that muscle, right? Like you have to like stop at a certain point, go back, I don't know.
It's restraint because you can.
Yeah.
That's the problem with it that I'm finding is that you can keep going, and then before you know it, you really could have done that on runway in 6 seconds, but I'm just like I want to do it with, see what it would do.
Because you're
going
to get a more interesting camera movement or whatever, which feels more real or visceral.
It's depth too. Like it's there's a lot of depth in the shots, which I've noticed. Like you see a lot more of this from Drew. You'd probably appreciate a lot of this stuff, especially like I've been prompting a lot with gimbal style camera, and to me it's like so realistic, and like you get like the handshake of it, but you get like the drop in the levels, the arcing around and the orbiting. But it has like this depth to it where you can really see like the edges are really tight of the shadows, the light play. It's very intricate. So I'm like, stuff like that. I'm like, how do like those gimbal style shots? That doesn't happen on any other platform. And I'm not saying it's Sora's better or worse than anything, but when you want that look, it's like, how do I stop?
I mean, it's so funny because
it's pretty bad.
I feel like the different programs and approaches of the companies influence their products because they're listening to the users. They're like favorite users differently, and so they're building the features that those users want. Like Midjourney I feel like is a very strong reflection of like a great artist community giving great feedback and they're responding.
Yeah.
Like so like at the same time I wonder how that influences the whole industry in like we're gonna have all these different companies that have different personalities. Some of them aren't gonna make it, frankly. Like of the ones that we've all talked about, they might all consolidate or whatever. And we might lose those personalities, or they become part of other larger personalities or AI personalities that we have to interact with creatively. Like, it's weird.
It's a great point. I mean, when's that consolidation going to happen?
Yeah, I feel like, next year.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here's the other thing. I was going to ask you before we let you go, man, because you got so much great insight on this on the video side here too. Like, have you played around with VO2 yet?
No.
Have you played around with that?
Is it open?
Like wishful thinking.
I'm not on.
I think there is a link that you can access it. Yeah, I've seen like people posting stuff. So I
think it's still creator programming.
Is it?
I went to sign up for their beta the other day or whatever the hell it is.
Okay,
I was
got
like,
it.
Maybe I got a shot.
Come
Probably
on.
Don't.
Sorry to say. It's in the labs.
Google, if you're listening.
I've been waiting for Google and Meta. And it's funny that kind of like Google drops on the head top of OpenAI, like in their 12-day thing. Like, of course, Google's finally like going to get them back for last year for dropping on top of them,
Oh, yeah.
But like, I've been waiting for Meta. And so Meta's like, I guess, delayed into next year. They showcased like video to video yesterday. But like, I think the generations that we've seen are awesome. I mean, the fidelity, the precision. And actually, it's a great transition from the last personality conversation, because I feel like, are we going to have this world where there's a competition for precision and then there's a world of competition for creativity, like what you're talking about, Rory, like having more like using blend being a very creative thing that you're responding to versus Google VO2 or Hilua or whatever doing exactly what you want it to do, like I wonder if that's the world or it's both.
Yeah.
Or you have to have both, in a product.
This is where I get like, Drew, if you want to get deep here, it's like I don't understand how.
Bro, this is what we do on this
YouTube.
podcast. Yeah,
Midjourney deep hours.
Like, yeah, that's good.
How does anyone compete with Google for training data. Like, how is anyone going to compete with YouTube?
Great point.
There's billions of hours of content, and they own all of it.
Yeah.
TikTok.
Yeah, probably.
TikTok should acquire Pika Labs.
There's such.
That's what should happen.
That's actually not a bad idea. I think Pika's like showed itself to be this social media platform. Like that's what it wants to be. Great, smart, good niche, because it wasn't going to compete with Sora. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't going to compete with Runway. Personally, I think, but it's like that's a good thing for it to be. But I think it's like these very interesting like again, it comes back to who can just build the brain the fastest, and it's like Google. How do you
DeepMind too, right?
compete with that data set?
They're the deepest bench maybe.
It's interesting because they felt like they've been behind on a lot of this stuff, and it feels like they're probably going to just take that exponential leap sooner or later. Faye also agrees with me back there.
Yeah, it's not like the every week we've got a new update like playbook that we've seen. It's we're just going to literally just drop this bomb.
And Google has always felt like the company that is the nerdiest in a certain way. Like they've always they're not like Apple. They're not like the cool designer-led company. They're the technologist-led company. That's why they keep making products that suck but are technologically cool. This is where I do have a little skepticism of Google also though, because they've always launched things that were like kind of like they were almost products, or they like were not fully committed to them, and so they killed them.
Right. Right. I've never understood that, especially considering how many employees they have. I mean, I don't know what their org structure looks like, but that's a great point, right? Like Google Plus, you just name it, you go down the list, right? Like there's just so many killed products along the way.
Well, I will say I have particular insight into Google because I was married to a Googler.
There we go.
Another ex is also a Googler.
Jesus, bro.
But my impression from that, and obviously biased and etc., but like a lot of meetings, a lot of like alignment. Like we need to align with a lot of people, and then also like very technology led, like super nerdy, and in a way that kind of was like, hey, this is just a really cool technology. We should do it. We should do Google Glass. Why not? Because why not? Let's do it. And then we'll tell the marketing department and the product department to figure out how this integrates. That was my impression of how things worked. So, but at the same time, like maybe maybe AI plays to their strength. Maybe their strength of technology is exactly where they need to be, and they lap everybody because hey, AI requires that you have the data, have the technologists, have the GPUs and TPUs and like the researchers that are at the edge. Like Waymo. Right, like Waymo's Google, right, and that is like they're crushing everybody, including Tesla. So
how much I mean, it's also just cash too, right? I mean, like at the end of the day, it's what feels like a lot of these companies. Like Midjourney said it, like they said it on that office hours for the world building. They're just like, if you guys want us to train a video model, like to build a foundational model is like I need like $100 million. Like we just don't. Have that. They're like it's expensive, and we're not going to raise cash. So it's like okay, now some Google, right? Like it's like in their lap with
and they are the ad YouTube company, right? Which I feel like is where AI is headed. Like I feel like Hollywood is going to push for fidelity, but ads are like customization, hyper-localization, all of that plays perfectly with AI ads. And
that's a great thought.
Yeah, and I think that's where you're going to see a lot more of it on your Instagram, TikTok feed in terms of advertising, because it's people are figuring it out. It's fine. It's always been figure out LoRa's, need to figure out how to get products into shots. Right now that's pretty possible. You're just going to see it over and over and over again because you need options, and it's volume game, which is where I come from. It's crazy to watch everyone sort of come around to that now, that it's like, oh, we can do that. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to my feed being polluted though, because God knows Christmas ads have been just crushing me over the last 2 weeks.
Or will you feel more seen by your ads? Which is a weird thought.
I do think that my Instagram feed's pretty good.
Right?
I do think I was joking with my wife that I bought her something for Christmas the other day, and then it was one thing, something I never look at, And then my entire feed was all different variations of the thing that I bought her, and it was like every
Brutal.
2 posts. I was like, come on. I was like, no, come on.
Yeah.
What the hell? But, it's always fun to go Google something that you're interested in buying because you know you're going to get it on your IG feed. So I'm like, let me go look at a few websites like that. And then it's like, oh, all sunglasses. Nice. Perfect. Now I can choose instead of actually searching for them.
Or you click on one ad just to see what the price is.
That's
You're
And
done.
then it's just like the next 5 ads are competitors of the same fucking
Oh my
thing,
God.
bro.
I- I clicked on his course the other day. There was this guy that was doing like a Midjourney or like a creative director course. I forget who the hell it was. It's like Midjourney course from creative director. I'm like, cool. Let me just see what he's charging. And like I looked at it, and then I have been retargeted maybe 80 times since then. Like 7 variations of ads. I'm like, man, this is so intense. You guys must be spending a lot of money on this because that's a lot of hyper targeting. But dude, I can't imagine it getting better, which is going to be weird.
Just don't sign away your likeness, or you're gonna see yourself in your own ads.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Didn't even think about that. Jesus.
It
Gonna
is
be
weird.
Yeah.
It is weird. I open up my Instagram sometimes. I did a speaking engagement for Affiliate World, which is just a media buyer performance marketing conference. And for whatever reason, apparently the ad creative of me speaking on stage was like really doing very well for them. So every time I like open it, I just like see myself, but it's not me. And I'm just like, this is so weird. Like if people send it to me, they're like, what is this? I'm like, they've been running it for like a year and a half because it just, for whatever the hook, whatever the way they structured it, the whole thing like works. Wow. So they just keep, bailing on it.
I've personally seen that
It's so annoying.
fucking 1,000 times, bro.
And I'm like, will you guys take it down? That's Midjourney 5.2. I sound like an idiot.
Oh my
And
God,
you
dude.
see the images in the background. It's like so shitty in comparison to what's there now. And
Nah.
I'm like, come on.
It's all this is gonna age poorly
I know.
because of how fast it moves. So I just dude.
You see the comments on the ads, like it's like those images suck. Like that looks like it was done in DALL-E. I'm like, oh God.
Oh, man.
This is a year and a half ago almost.
Yeah, it's all in context,
Yeah,
baby.
it's funny, but
This was like awesome convo.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And, dude, great having you, dude. I mean, you added a ton of value, good insight. We might actually have to have you back, just do like another conversation. I think you add a nice voice to this room that has just got like a, like Rory and I have paralleled experiences but different. Same with you. I think that's and you're able to speak to everything really deeply too. So I'm sure the audience appreciates that.
It was super fun talking.
I got nothing else, man. I hope you guys, have a great Christmas. and
Likewise. Happy holidays.
do something fun for the holidays.
Happy New Year. 2025,
yeah.
the year of video, or what is it? What is it? The year of 3D video? I don't know.
world
I don't
building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
World building,
Maybe.
we'll say like, oh, that's not that's not going to happen until 5 years, and it'll be like 5 weeks from now. Like, oh, AR to text to AR. Like, what else is new? What else is next?
nice.
But let everyone know where they can find you
yeah.
if they want to get more
Yeah,
content.
thank you guys so much for having me. That was super fun. I could talk to you guys for hours. You can find me on my favorite place to find me is on YouTube, where I'm Min's Mind TV, and MINHSMIND TV, and then I'm Min's Mind on everything else on all the other socials. You can find me, and basically do that YouTube content, do client work with AI films, AI music videos, all that kind of stuff, and then I have a little community, mainly in SF and LA, but we're doing stuff in Seattle, Palm Springs, New York, where we do like Gen Jam events where we get people to play around with AI, create films and music videos and art and whatever. Yeah.
It's dope.
So cool. Well, maybe we'll show up at one.
Yeah.
I think it'd be
let
pretty
you guys know.
legit to come hang out. But yeah, man,
Absolutely.
Thank you again for coming on. Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you, as is tradition, like and subscribe. And then, we'll see you, I think, next week for a little bit of end of year, little roundup, Drew? Maybe something fun.
little post-Christmas eggnog,
Ooh,
get a little
I like
crazy.
that.
Maybe I'll do a little Midjourney after dark with some
Ooh.
eggnog. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
I like that.
All right, fellas.
Thanks, guys.
Later.